Hey folks, how you doing? Michael from Misfit Shepherds here. A lot of folks ask about our correction collars and how we use them. Well, these things that you see on my chest all the time, these are the remotes for the correction collars. Each one of them is capable of handling 6 dogs, and right now we have 9 of them. So we use correction collars as an extension of correction. If a dog's right next to me and it's doing something wrong, I would probably reach down and touch, correct them verbally, something to that effect. This is just a way of doing it from a distance. And the reason we call them correction collars is because we're not shocking the dog. That's not helping anybody, that's not helping the dog. In fact, you make the dog very scared just by shocking them. The level that we use here is so low, it's literally a pulse through the fingers. If you put your fingers on the collar, in fact, I'm going to do that. If you put your fingers on the collar and you hit it at the levels that we use here, it's not going to hurt you. You're going to feel it. It's going to be uncomfortable, but uncomfortable is fine. Pain is not fine when it comes to a shepherd. In fact, if you use a correction collar too harshly, if you crank it up when a dog is being aggressive, a shepherd, they're going to get more aggressive. So you don't want to do that. If it's a fight going on and you hit that, the dog is going to think the other animal is what did the damage, and it's going to accelerate it even further. So don't do that. The reason we use them at such a low level is because we don't want the dog yelping. Obviously, you don't want to put the dog in pain, but if you actually make the dog yelp, the other ones are going to know that that's the reason he's yelping, and they're all going to start being very timid around you. Where you going, Ranger boy? Ugh. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I'll never use a shock collar or a correction collar, it's mean to the dog. There's no way of keeping this many dogs in line all the time. Each one of these little guys has a brain, and some of the stuff that they come up with, not so good. That one over there likes going after the mailman, that's Ranger. And occasionally, when he's a little further away from me, I need to correct him. I need to stop him from going through that fence and going after the mailman. Ivory here, she likes falling behind sometimes. So if we put a little tap on her shoulder or on her neck from the collar, lets her know she needs to kind of keep up with us. Not painful. Now, the problem with using a correction collar at such low pulse is if you get a cheapy collar, you're not going to be sure that dog is actually feeling that each time you use it. So you really can't cheap out on a collar. You got to go and you got to put some money in it. Who's got a Kong? You got one? Now, we are not paid advertisement for any company at all, and we don't endorse any company. But we use sport dog shock collars or correction collars because I know every time I hit that button, the dog is going to get the message. The collar is going to get the message. I've had some other ones where you're guessing, and the only way you know if the dog got the message is if they yelp, and that's not what we're about here. Now these remotes have, like I said, each remote that I particularly have is good for 6 dogs. They have them for 3, they have them just for single dogs. But the point of these remotes are, Ranger, come here, big boy. You can get a shock, obviously, or a low pulse shock, or you can get a beep going through the collar. And it's really as easy as turning this dial here. So I'm gonna show you a little example. I actually have the dogs trained that when they hear the tone coming through their collar, it means to come find daddy. So let me experiment. Let me show you how that works. Guys, come here a second. Come here. Come. Come on, come. Come here. Bear, come. So when I hit the tone button, see how they're all coming to me one at a time? That's one of their collars going off each time. Come on, Juno. Juno, you know what that means. Get up here. That tells them, regardless of where they are in the yard, they need to come find Daddy. And it works very, very well. Because they know if they don't start answering the tone call, that soon after they're going to get a little pulse in their neck, and then it gets a little stronger and a little stronger. So we don't even have those conversations anymore. They know, including the new guy. He knows when the tone goes off, find Daddy. It only took him a week to figure it out. Now the way I teach how to do that is really simple. I'm going to hit the collar, and it's Juno up front there that's getting the beep. Now she knows what this means, but she's got a Kong in her mouth, so she's not too interested. But when you're teaching a new dog, you beep their collar, hold the button. Juno, come, 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 come. Juno, come, come, come. While their collar is beeping. Come, come. Good girl, come, come. And you don't stop until you're able to touch the dog. That tells the dog each and every time they get a beep, come see Daddy and let him touch you. So that's how we teach a new dog how to come with the tone call. And it's just a matter of doing it over and over again. If you make it fun, they'll never forget. If you make it a treat at the end of the rainbow, Scooby snack, they'll never forget. So it's an awesome way to get them broken in. So right now, Sierra, who likes to disappear every once in a while, she's wearing a collar as well. So I'll just tone her. Not quite doing it. So I'll put a number 1 into it. She's still smelling flowers, but she's making her sweet way over here. Now, you don't have to continue the collar over and over again for a dog who's experienced. That's just for training methods. Once you get good at it, once they get good at it, guys, once you get good at it, you just have to hit it a couple times. They'll come find you. Sierra's kind of one of those we don't have to follow all the rules type of dog. She's old enough. This is the actual sports dog brand. They're expensive. They're a little on the pricey side. This is one of the cheaper ones, and I'm actually zoom in on the number. This is a collar by itself without a remote. And again, I have the remotes that are expandable up to 6 dogs a piece. All of their collars that are meant for remotes all work the same, but there's 150 different kinds of collars out there that they make. So you really want to talk to somebody over there, tell them what your needs are, right up until how far you're going to be dealing with these dogs. This one is, I believe, good for 3/4 of a mile. They have remotes and collars that are good for 2 miles, depending on how much area you're covering. Now again, we don't get paid by these guys. The reason I'm saying use this collar is because we use it for 9 to 12 dogs, and it works. It works real well. I don't have to guess whether they're getting the correction that I want them to get. I don't have to guess. I know they're getting it each and every time. I've had cheaper collars. They don't work as well. Now, each one of these collars, as well as the remotes and stuff, come with a DVD and an actual instruction booklet on how to train your dog to the collar, how to teach them about the collar. The pamphlet, now I don't have it with me, but the pamphlet on how to train your dog is this size. It's a paperback, it's maybe 15 pages, and I have not learned more information from any other book than I have from that little pamphlet. Now, this is what the collar looks like, the part of the collar that actually comes in contact with the dog. You'll want to inspect this every time you take the collar off. And as you're going to see inside, when you get to that part of the video, we take the collars on and off these dogs at least 2 times a day. And the reason being is if they're in there taking a nap in their crates, they don't need the collar on their neck. These are 2 prongs that actually go into the neck, and they actually push in a little bit. So you're going to want to watch for some wear on the neck. You want to check out the dog's neck as often as you take it on, and every time you take it off. You want to check their neck. If you start feeling any abrasions or anything like that, or you see any kind of discharge on the collar, it's getting messy or anything like that, don't assume it's mud. Check it out. Get some Clorox wipes or a little bit of alcohol with some cotton and clean those tips off good. Make sure you don't have material from your dog's neck on there. Make sure it is just mud. If it starts hurting the dog, if you start seeing problems with the dog's neck, discontinue use right away. Start using antiseptic spray on their neck. Start using antibiotic ointment on their neck. Get those parts of the dog healed up. And then figure out what went wrong with, is it too loose? Is it too tight? I have 2 dogs that cannot wear these prongs on their neck, against their neck, because they have sensitive skin or whatever's going on. This is one of them. So what I do is I'll take what I call the horns. I don't know, they call them something else. But I'll take the little horns off and literally just put the collar on their neck. They still have the tone. They still know to come to daddy. Now later on in the video, I'm actually going to go into how I size these collars up on the dog for the first time. And again, you're going to see it in there too. That's the white line. I actually use a paint pen and I put a line right where the notch is. So each and every time I put it on the dog, it'll be the same way. You don't want to do it all different kinds of way. If it's wrong, you'll be able to figure out which way it's wrong. Too tight, too loose, or just that your dog really can't handle it from very much. Now, if it's to the point where your dog can't handle it very much, but you need the horns on it, take the collar on and off every time the dog goes out. Dog doesn't need the collar on inside the house. If you're correcting your dog with the collar inside the house, then you got to work on your correcting skills, which is, as Judge Judy says, another video, another show. But we have another video for that as well. Good job, Ivan. Now, there is a danger of overuse of these collars, especially if you're using it when you're angry. Because if you're using it when you're angry, the dog knows you're angry, you're going to start hurting the dog. Stop using the collar. Just stop using it. Don't use it when you're angry. Put the button down. If you feel as though that you're pushing it and you're holding on to that button, put the remote down. Put the dog in the crate. Let everybody relax. All right? If you overuse, now I don't like doing this, but if you use it too much, or like for Ranger there, when he started getting to be too bad, you use it too much, well, nobody's reacting, and that's a good thing. But you'll see all the dogs duck when you grab your remote, or you'll see your only dog duck when you grab your remote. It's a very sure sign of you're using it too much. And the dog's going to be afraid to do anything. So you don't want to do that. This is a very handy tool. You can draw lines wherever you want for that dog. Guys, I don't like them when they start using their teeth. When they start using their teeth, they're going to play, they're going to play. They're going to growl, they're going to go at each other. That's all play. But when they start actually grabbing each other with their teeth, that's when I start correcting them, because I don't want a vet bill. And again, you can draw lines anywhere you want. Just be consistent with those lines. You can draw a line with the remote. You can draw a line by telling a dog what to do. You can draw a line anywhere you want. If you're happy with them going up on the couch or jumping up on the bed, those are your lines. That's fine. But be consistent. Be very, very consistent. The dog will not understand if you're not consistent. You also don't want to teach a dog too many new things at once using a collar. Now, we use the collar, the pulse part of it, as a no. No, when you're teaching a dog not to do something with the pulse part of the collar, you're telling them, no, no, as you're hitting the button. They will get the message. Now, he knows what the collar means. It's just an example. Because if you're saying no too loud, no, then everybody else around is going to get disturbed with that. You don't want that. Ranger. Now, if it's too low, you have a danger of saying, that wasn't so bad. You have that danger of the dog feeling as though he didn't get shocked that much. So you step it up one notch. Just don't crank these things up. They will hurt your dog. Now, the most important thing to remember with these collars, don't feel guilty about using them when you have to use them. Because if you've got a dog like our Capone here, who raises her fur up all the time, you have to put that in check. If you don't put that in check, you're going to have a lot of injuries with your dogs. You might even have a lot of injuries with people that come visit you. Come here, big girl. Come here. So don't feel guilty about using them when you have to use them. At the same token, if you feel yourself getting angry at your animal or at your dog, stop using the collar. Put it down. Put it away. Put the dog in a crate. Figure out why you're so angry. Figure out why the dog is doing what it's doing. It's probably a simple reason, either instinctual or other, why your dog is doing something. Dogs don't normally do behaviors just to get us angry. There's usually an underlying reason as to why they're doing it. They may be wrong, but there's an underlying reason. Good job, guys. So another thing about these collars. They all come. Can you zoom in all the way in on that? With an extra tab. It almost looks like you can hook a leash to that. The problem is if you hook a leash to that, you're pulling those prongs deeper into the throat when the dog pulls. Do not use these collars as a leash collar. We actually have separate collars on our dogs that require leash handling as well. So keep them separate. Also, when you're putting it on your dog, right behind the ears. You want it all the way to the back of the ears. You don't want it all the way down on the neck. You want it as far up as it can possibly go on the head. That's where there's like a place in there, a groove almost, where it'll stay put and it'll stay connected to the neck all the time if it's properly sized.